Cern Basher has just let me know in no uncertain terms that he has brought a banger today. So I think that you should stay tuned for the whole thing. And his always Cern, they're all great. You know.
You know, they are. And a couple of episodes back, you said best ever CERN. So that
Yes.
was a tough one to live up to. That was a high watermark. But I'm trying. I'm trying to bring a better game each week, Randy.
Well, the key to whether I think they're any good or not is if I learn something, because I am a news dog. I am just all over the news and I'm seeing all this information. So when you bring something that I didn't know, I go, "Hey, that's pretty that's yeah." Or if you bring it in a way that is so clear and so easy for folks to understand,
Mm.
that's what I really love. Anyway, I'll let you share and shoot off into this amazing banger that you brought this week.
That sounds good. Let's see if we can make this work. All right. So today we're going to talk about bots.
Oh,
We're going to talk about some economic data, and we're going to talk about EVs at the end.
all right.
So some interesting stuff, I think, in there, and a few random items as well. Something that caught my eye over the weekend was the latest video from Tesla and the Optimus team.
Yes.
I'm sure that you saw this,
And
and
Scott and I talked about it a bit yesterday. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So we don't need to go into too much detail about that, but if we think about, when we start seeing robots walking around in the world, what do you think your reaction is going to be?
The first time or the
Yeah.
100th time?
Well, the first time.
Well, the first time it's going to be, hey, that's awfully cool and a little freaky.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is going to be an interesting moment. And I think the more human-like they appear to be, the more interesting it's going to be for us.
Right.
People talk about those delivery robots they see on the street. The first time they see it, they turn their heads and they watch it. And then after that, it's just a normal thing.
Right. Exactly.
I think this could be different.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I think also we will quickly get used to it. But it's to see something that's so human-like, I think is going to be a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not guessing, I guess, what my reaction is going to be, but I think it's going to be a pretty amazing experience.
Well, I don't know if you saw the Chinese video yesterday showing the robots that have very human-like skin and all the
Mm.
rest. And interestingly, they're making them look just normal, balding heads, things like that. So it's that that'll make a whole nother level of interest.
Yeah, there's already one CERN in the world. I don't think we need any more CERNs. That's scary enough. Yeah, or Scott Walters, maybe even worse.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
They'll never
one
be able to duplicate that hair. There's not a chance.
one is great, but more than one? Mm. So, how many bots do you think we will see in the world?
Uh, Billions at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We have, 800 million or so washing machines in the world, and we've got a bunch of microwaves and refrigerators and 1.5 billion automobiles, a couple billion televisions. I think there's a billion or so just in my house.
Yeah.
Um, we've got a few computers, we've got a few houses, 2.3 billion homes in the world estimated, 6 billion watches. So that's almost one watch per person. The puzzling one is we seem to have about 14 billion mobile phones.
14 billion mobile phones.
Now, I'm not entirely sure I believe that number. That implies almost two per person.
Yes, that's crazy.
Um, so I don't know. I only have one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And my kids don't have any. So this one's puzzling. But anyways, a lot of mobile phones.
A lot of mobile phones. Yeah.
And the question is, how many humanoid bots?
Right.
And so let's try to answer that question a little bit today. So Tony Seba put out a great piece, and if people haven't seen it, and I know that you've talked about it on your channel, this time we are the horses.
Right.
Very provocative title, and he's not wrong when it comes to the potential of disrupting labor. And what he's referring to is when automobiles first appeared on the scene, they replaced horses.
Right.
And he's saying now that humans are the equivalent with humanoid robots. Um, there was this post also that got quite a bit of attention this week. Smoke Away. I don't exactly know who this is, but it's a fairly large, well-followed account on X. Proposed this production ramp, and basically it's a 10x every year until
Mhm.
2030 when there's a billion humanoid bots produced.
Right.
And Elon responded to this. And he said, not quite that fast, but not far wrong. And I saw this and I uttered a few expletives and kind of in shock, right? Like these are crazy numbers. To ramp this fast would be absolutely mind-boggling.
So Scott and I talked about it because again, Scott, of course, is a robot expert and an automation expert, and I am barely sort of a factory, expert since I've built one. Anyway, I thought that the numbers were, this is just a simple idea here of, a 10x every year. I think that it's way more likely that the number would come out more like 2024,000, 2025, 100,000, 2026, a million, and then 2 million, and then 5 million. In other words, getting up, getting started and getting to a million at a time or 2 million or 3 million, that's not the hard number. The hard number is going from 10 million to 25 million or 50 million. That's going to be the more difficult get.
Yeah, the puzzling thing for me is when Elon says not far wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
To what degree does he mean
Right.
that?
Right.
Right? I mean, not far wrong. Like if it's not a billion in 2030, then what is it? Is not far wrong half of that?
Yeah. Or even 100 million would be a lot. I mean, that'd be a huge, huge
Massive,
business. Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had done some thinking about this, and I had put this together a few months ago.
Hmm.
And by 2030, I had Tesla, or even the industry, if you want to look at it that way, making 1.5 million robots a year.
Right.
I mean, as crazy as my numbers looked, and as people thought that I was a complete nutcase, my numbers are so low compared to the previous page. Um, and by the way, in 2035, I had only 15 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowhere near 100 million, let alone a billion.
No, again, I think your numbers are extremely low, quite frankly. Again, if we just look at, like, for instance, the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck was a few thousand the first year, but that was only a few months anyway. And we're talking about 75,000 the first full year,
Hmm.
talking about 250,000 the second full year, and that's a massively more difficult thing to ramp than the robots are going to be. So, will there be enough immediate demand for a million a year? I don't know, but I think so. I think the demand will be very immediate, but that could be wrong. But in terms of building them, I don't see the problem getting to that first million and even to 5 or 10 million.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting on here, at 2035, with my 15 million a year and cumulative bots deployed of 43 million there in the
Right.
center of the page, that got me to a market value of humanoid bots, either for the industry or if you think this is Tesla, that's fine, of $51 trillion.
Yeah.
And that's with 43 million deployed
Right.
in 2035,
Not a billion.
not a billion, right? So, as nutty as you might think I am, it may turn out that I wasn't even close in
Right.
terms of where it could be.
Exactly.
Um, I'll have to tell my wife that I'm not quite
Please
as
do.
nutty. Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
So then the other question is, how many bots will there be to our earlier question? And Elon said here, he didn't really answer the question, how many Optimus bots are you getting and why? But he did say, I think the ratio will be at least two for every human, maybe three or four,
Right.
right? And so again, another sort of shocking moment for me. It's like, better fire up the spreadsheet and look at this one. All right, so here it is. So on the top, it's 1 times human population of 8.1 billion people, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just taking Elon at its word here and just
Right.
seeing what this might look like. And then I'm modeling out that you pay on the one-time scenario $3.50 per hour for the bot. So the bot would cost you, if it's working 7,000 hours a year, $24,500.
Hmm.
Okay. Pretty reasonable.
Right.
And then I've got some cost assumptions, and I've got an annual gross profit of the bot of $17,000 a year
Hmm.
times 8.1 billion
Right.
gets you to bot revenue of $200 trillion, net profit of 100 trillion, and apply, let's say, a PE of 30 to that,
Hmm.
get you to not 3 trillion, but 3 quadrillion dollars. Now, I'm not suggesting Tesla has 8 billion bots deployed. You can apply whatever market share you want to this.
Sure.
Let's say it's 10%. That's a $300 trillion market cap
Yeah.
just for the bots business. Now, I don't even know if it's worth going to the right of this chart, but you can see the numbers at 2, 3, and 4x.
Right.
And I decreased the cost per hour down from 350 down to $2, and the numbers flow from there.
Right.
It's unbelievable to think that there could be more than 8 billion bots in the world at some point.
Yeah. So I mentioned this the other day, I think on the Scott video, but I think it bears talking about again because I think I'm the first one to suggest this. I haven't seen it anywhere else, anybody else talking about it. So I started trying to think about how would the bot be used in the home, because I think it'll give people a better idea of how it will be used in the factory. So in the home, quite frankly, there's not that much real serious labor to do in the home anymore. You pointed out we've got the washers and the microwaves and dryers, et cetera, all those things doing a lot of the work that humans used to have to do in the home. But what it could do would be bring amazing luxury to the home.
Mhm.
So the bot could be fixing you 3 meals a day of the quality of the local restaurant. It could be going to the grocery store, or you could be doing that automated anyway and getting the freshest vegetables, the freshest, the best foods, the best meats, and then preparing these amazing meals. Then uh, we just saw this new, to the 20 degrees of freedom hand. Well, that bot's going to be able to play instruments. Okay, so he could then, after as you're eating your dinner, he could be playing some lovely Chopin, or getting out his guitar and playing some lovely 70s music for you. So there's all kinds of step ups that we can't even think about affording today, that the bot would be able to do basically for free if you had one in your home. That's how you might end up getting one or more in your home, and justifying it. Now you apply that same reasoning to business. You're talking about, not it's you don't can't think of it exactly in terms of luxury, but it's the fact that the bot can do things now that you could not ever have afforded any human being to do, but now the bot can do it because it's so cheap per unit or per hour of labor.
That's right. And one example on that is, we would have a litter-free world.
Yes, a litter-free world. That would be a
It
good
would
one.
make sense just to
That's
pick up all the
that's a
trash.
luxury, and that's a luxury. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a luxury. Yes.
In my home, though, I would disagree with you a little bit. I have 2 kids, 6 and 8, and the bot would be employed full time just picking up after them.
It's just picking up. Yes.
And I also live in fear a little bit because my wife likes to move furniture around in the house.
Oh yeah.
And if she had a bot or two to assist her, oh, it would be unbelievable. I wouldn't recognize my home.
You
I
would know where to sit. Yeah,
wouldn't
you
know
would
where to
know.
sit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. I also ran these numbers at even lower bot prices per hour,
Okay.
down from 350 down to 250, and then on the 4x scenario down to $1 an hour.
Yeah.
And the numbers are still in the quadrillions.
Right.
It hurts actually to say that word, quadrillion. That's a
Quadrillion. Yeah. Yeah.
painful word to say. Um, so anyway, it's pretty fascinating. And in Tony Seba's piece, he talked about the bot potentially costing 10 cents an hour.
Right.
And I'm not quite sure how to work out that math, because at $1 an hour, that's $7,000 of revenue a year. At 10 cents, it's only $700 of revenue a year.
Right.
And so that would maybe imply that the cost to make the bot would be some very, very low number at that point.
Right. Right.
And I suppose it's possible if we're making 1 billion a year that you could get the cost down where 10 cents an hour could make sense.
Yeah.
But right now that breaks my model if I put 10 cents in here, as well as my brain.
Yeah.
Here it is here in this piece at the bottom. $10 an hour for their labor, and then headed towards $1 an hour before 2035 and under 10 cents an hour before 2045.
Mm,
And to your point, this would allow us to unleash labor on anything that
yes,
today is not economic. You would just have the bot do absolutely everything.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. This was kind of interesting. When we had electricity, um, they felt the need to put signs up in a room. This room is equipped with Edison electric light. Do not attempt to light with match. Simply turn key on wall by the door. So,
Yeah.
we laugh at this, right? Like this seems so stupid, but I get it.
Yeah, sure.
And we're going to have the same kinds of signs for the humanoid bot, I suppose. Um, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Then it says at the bottom, the use of electricity for lighting is in no way harmful to health, nor does it affect the soundness of sleep, as long as the light's not left on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny.
It is.
So in Tony's piece, and I apologize here for it's probably very difficult, if not impossible, to see any of this, but he talks about these X curves. The rise of a new technology leads to the decline of another.
Right.
And so here in the top left, red fabric dyes, natural dye went down and synthetic dye went up. Insulin, animal-derived insulin went down, synthetic-derived up. Video, this is physical, this is digital.
Right.
Cameras, film cameras, and digital. So
Right.
it's corn and nails, cut nails, wire nails,
Mm,
coal, car tires from non-radial to radial tires, you know, TV screens,
yeah.
uh, and so on, all the different things. And of course, the one that we're focused on lately is, you know, well, not lately, century ago, automobiles from horses. And of course, now ICE to EV. They all follow these S curves. This is not anything new.
Yeah, so we can't see the automobile line at all. Can you trace it? Can you see it?
Yeah, sorry, it's this white line, and these are Tony's charts. This is white
Okay.
line going up. It's
Right.
basically a
Got it.
mirror image
Okay.
of the red line.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry for the lack of visibility there.
Yeah, that's not good.
We'll get Tony to use a different color next time.
Would you please?
So the same thing potentially with human labor. Similar kind of X curve.
Sure.
And we can see why. And you and I have talked about some of this before. I decided to put this on this chart for the first time. We've talked about how robots can do the mundane tasks, and that will free up people to do more interesting things. They can do the dangerous jobs, keeping people safe. They can do repetitive tasks over and over and over again without getting tired. Also, they can do tasks with high precision and quality. Everything a robot does will be precise and at the highest quality.
Right.
That's not always true of human workers,
Absolutely.
right? They can work while people rest or take breaks. They can work while we're sleeping. That's why they can work 7,000+ hours a year.
Hmm.
Humans can't do anywhere near that. They can also help us solve hard problems by looking at all the information and giving us ideas. They can be our most capable, able assistant that you could ever imagine,
Sure.
right? Um, they can provide instant responses and personalized interactions in any language. The bot can sound like anybody you want it to sound like. It can speak any language. That's going to be amazing as well.
Yes.
The ability for real-time monitoring and optimization, I think, is also huge. To be able to optimize things on the fly will be incredible.
Hmm.
Uh,
And the monitoring is a thing that it's interesting. The dog, whatever they call their dog, I forget now, over at Atlas, the one that
Spot.
yeah, they've actually, monetized that when they're actually selling those. It is only to read meters. It walks
Mhm.
around the factory and reads meters. So I have talked about my employees sitting in front of a blow molder and watching the bottles drop out. Well, but there wasn't just watching the bottles drop out. It's also making sure that the temperatures are the right temperatures, that if the bottles are not coming out exactly as they should, they can adjust temperatures or adjust dwell times. So yeah, the kind of monitoring part of this thing is very important.
Yep. And then finally, as I mentioned, being a capable assistant, even just to move and retrieve things.
Hmm.
Even if you have an office job, having a bot just to put paper in the printer and get your coffee and do whatever it is still a very, very helpful thing,
Sure.
right? So what I did was take a look. I took a look at the employment data in the United States.
Hmm.
This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and its data, the latest data is from May of last year. So it's about a year old. And there's 151 million jobs that they have data for. The largest grouping of that is over 18 million in office and administrative support.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's another 13 or more million in sales and related jobs. And what I did here was divide the jobs up into two different categories. Jobs that will be impacted by AI
Hmm.
in blue. So this is AI that's not embodied. This is
Right.
AI that's on your desktop on your phone. Everybody in these jobs will benefit from that
Right.
some way, or potentially displaced to for some people.
Hmm.
And the green ones are AI embodied. These are physical jobs for the most part that would greatly benefit by having a humanoid robot doing tasks for them.
Gotcha.
Okay. And I'll show you some conclusions on that in just one second. Here is this was the number of jobs, and this is the same chart, but looking at total income
Mm.
category. So the largest category by income is management. They're
I
the
see.
highest paid, and they earn over 1.4 trillion.
Sure.
Okay. So a little bit different view if you look at the number versus the income.
Right.
But if you summarize the blue and the green, I get this.
Hmm.
I get over 80 million jobs that will be impacted by AI that's not embodied,
Hmm.
and about 69 million jobs
Hmm.
that are physical that would be impacted by humanoid robots, which is embodied AI.
Right. Right.
Now, a couple of things about this. One is that people say, oh, we should tax the robots. Well, actually, the biggest impact might be just AI unembodied. So why not tax that too?
Right. Too. Exactly. Yes.
So it's funny how we want to tax the things that we can see, and we don't tax the things that maybe aren't as, you can't see necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all AI, and it's all going to have potentially, this a similar effect on labor. Okay. Um, Also, as I mentioned earlier, the blue category, even though it's AI not embodied, the people in those jobs will still benefit from having a humanoid robot doing things for them.
Sure.
So, you know, it's AI everywhere and a humanoid bot everywhere as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Um, Tony Seberg, and back to him. So he maintains that the disruption of labor is about tasks, not jobs.
Hmm.
And I think this is a really important point. And at the bottom, he says, as long as humanoid robots are not sentient, they will not have jobs. They will only perform tasks. The disruption of labor, with all its world-changing implications, can therefore be only understood with tasks that are as the correct unit of analysis and tasks per hour per dollar as the corresponding cost capability metric.
Hmm.
So we should stop thinking about this as a disruption of jobs, at least in the near term, and focus on tasks.
Right.
And I think this is a really, really strong point, an important thing to think about when we're talking about humanoid robots.
Okay.
Okay, putting all that aside, let's look at jobs. Uh,
Oh, are we
175,
changing to the economy at this point?
we're completely changing gears.
Okay, so if we're going to change gears right now, you know what I'm going to do, CERN? I'm going to make these people wait.
Oh,
So because I'm gonna break this up over the weekend. So let's say goodbye for now. Let's pick it up in a minute and we will start with the economic situation going on in the country right now, which I think will be fascinating. And then we might do that. We might combine that with your EV part, or we might make a third one. So we'll see which way it goes. But for now, thanks as always, Cern, for helping out on all this. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you. We'll see you shortly.
My pleasure. We'll see you soon.